Alright, so about a year ago I made a video talking about NYC Melee's decision to unban Hax from their events, so this is going to be sort of a follow-up to that one. I'm making this video because while Hax was unbanned from his local scene, as well as a handful of other tournaments here and there, he's remained banned from almost every major tournament this year. Genesis, Shine, SmashCon, Gommel, BC5, and Riptide have all maintained their bans, and I think it warrants a re-evaluation. For those who may not know, 2 years ago, Hax made several videos about fellow top player Leffen, accusing him of being a little bit of a toxic influence on the community, and overall just not a very nice guy.
The funny thing is, Leffen is basically trying to turn his phone into the death note.
In response to these videos, a group of 30 plus TOs came together to ban Hax for directed and malicious intimidation, harassment, or bullying of any participant, whether by language or conduct, and malicious gossip with the intent of manipulating the victim's social circle, defamation of character. I want you guys to pay attention to the word malicious, because Mikey, one of the TOs who wrote the original ban statement, would make a follow-up document a few months later where he clarifies several times that he personally does not believe that Hax was acting maliciously, and even went as far as to edit out parts of the initial ban statement that would suggest otherwise. So my question to Mikey is, how can you argue that he broke rules that relate to malicious intent, malicious gossip, and malicious intimidation if you yourself don't believe that Hax was acting out of malice? And this isn't the only place where Mikey does stuff like this. One moment he's saying, I don't mean to characterize this as a malicious conspiracy on Hax's part, and then the next, he's quite literally comparing Hax's videos to QAnon, because that's a normal and sensible thing to do. My biggest issue is that the original ban statement was supposed to be a representation of a large group opinion, while this document reads more like an opinion piece with Mikey's personal bias interjected all throughout. So what I want to know is if the other 30-something TOs agree with the logic Mikey uses in this document, because a lot of it is just unfounded conjecture. I think it is likely that Hax believes that what he said is true to the extent that any harm caused to Leffen is justified. Hax never came anywhere close to inciting violence against Leffen. Mikey has literally nothing to substantiate this conclusion, which is why he would go back and remove parts of the original ban statement implying that Hax may pose a threat of violence. If you yourself admit that these arguments are uncharitable to Hax, then why do you still insist on making them when it comes to enforcing this ban? So to recap, despite believing that Hax was not acting out of malice, not a threat of violence, and not a crazy conspiracy theorist, Mikey and the group of 30 plus TOs still chose to ban Hax for all of those things. There's even a segment Mikey had to go back and correct because he didn't even bother doing the bare minimum of researching the facts of the case. How is this one of the people who decides who is and isn't allowed at tournaments? So not only does the reasoning for his ban not hold any water, but the infractions that they cite are from a defunct code of conduct panel that is no longer in effect. Like, if you read it, they say that groping and doxing are somehow on the same level as malicious gossip. Alright, so if you really wanted to ban him, you probably shouldn't be referencing rules that A, don't apply to the case, and B, aren't even in effect anymore. And let me be fair here, because remember, the decision to ban Hax was made by a group, and not just Mikey. Even if most of the TOs truly thought that Hax was being a malicious conspiracy theorist that posed a threat to Leffen's safety, Hax has taken all his videos down and fully apologized to Leffen and the community at large. He has clearly shown remorse for his actions, and has been nothing but a positive influence on the community since then. So I think these TOs owe us a new explanation for why Hax, in 2023, is still a threat to the community, because this one clearly doesn't hold up at all. It is incredibly sloppy, biased, and cowardly, yet despite it being over 2 years old, Hax's many apologies, his local community no longer deeming him a threat, and his 8 months of good behavior, absolutely no recourse has been done to reevaluate the ban, which doesn't really make any sense because in Mikey's statement he says, I would also like to be clear, as there was some confusion, that indefinite is not the same as permanent. So if he isn't permanently banned, then how long is he banned? Until next year? The year after that? It's gotta end at some point if it's not permanent. NYC Melee brought this up in their statement last year. The aforementioned ban was stated to have an indefinite length, which we believe leaves all affected parties in limbo as to a resolution. It is our belief all bans should have a defined end date or be explicitly stated as a lifetime ban. And honestly, I fully agree with this. This whole idea of indefinite bans is incredibly stupid and displays an inability to properly carry out due process. I understand that bans like this are ultimately at the TO's people's discretion, but at least give a defined length if you're not going to permanently ban them. The way NYC Melee evaluated this ban is how all bans in the community should be handled. I personally think a revamped conduct panel that actually processes these cases could be a potential solution. Bans should be treated with care in order to hand out the proper sentencing for each case, encourage behavioral change for those who break the rules, and ensure that everyone is treated fairly and equally, instead of just giving out indefinite bans with no due process and no transparency whatsoever. Imagine a world where instead of posting Evidence.zip 2 publicly to his YouTube channel and terrorizing the masses, Hacks submits it to a panel of TOs for them to privately review and assess. It would allow Hacks to voice his concerns without the risk of inciting any harassment towards Leffen. In this scenario, everyone wins. Now, considering that the last code of conduct fell apart, I'm not sure how feasible and sustainable a full-on panel would be long-term, but at the very least, could the same group of TOs that banned Hacks from their events in 2021 get together and reassess Hacks' ban in 2023? Because it's getting ridiculous at this point. Usually, when someone gets unbanned from their local scene, the majors follow suit, so I think it'd be nice to know why that hasn't been the case with Hacks. Anyways, that's all I have to say on this. I think it's about time we unban Hacks. I got a big video in the works, so stay tuned for that. I think you guys will really enjoy that. It's gonna be sort of like a continuation of the whole Smash World Tour thing, so you should also check out that video. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.
I'm out here hitting the gritty, you probably diddle with kitties.